at this point in the code, it's looking for any of the objects that have .NET New Client in the code base. All right, so that's what you saw as part of the object tag. When it starts looking through, it's looking for the particular widget names, so it knows where to look for particular objects. And then it tells the widget where to find the code, the widget engine, where to find the code. Is it a DNN, .NET Nuke widget, or is it something that we install? All right? So it's not important to know how to change this or anything, just to know that when you're doing certain things, it's going to happen for a reason, and this is how .NET Nuke does this on the client side. All right? Any questions on that? Okay. Once again, I'm not a .NET or a JavaScript wizard, so I'm not going to. That happens all client side. Everything we're going to talk about today is all client side. Okay? So that's those particular files. So now we're going to go through a couple demos. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go through is our style sheet. Now, I apologize if I go back to my notes because this is my first time giving this particular session. This is brand new. All right, so we have our style sheet widget, which is actually under my custom page. Oops, sorry, extra. This is a, oh, did y'all notice that the flicker? It was black at first on the yeah, so in this particular one, this particular widget is right over here on the right. You see this icon over here. And when we click on it, it gives us some options. And all these options right here actually refer to other style sheets. These particular ones right here, we can look at the other page because they're implemented there as well. But these ones over here are pretty cool because what we can do with the widgets, and the great thing about this being in the core skins is that it allows you to go in there and look and see how you might be able to implement this yourself. So what this does is when I'm going to click on this red one, well actually I'm over here, sorry. When I click on the orange one, it goes and switches up the style sheet for another style sheet. Right? Now this may or may not be something you want your end users using, but know that you can do this, and this could lead to something else that you might be wanting to do for yourself. Right? There's a black one, that was the default one that you almost saw load up, and then this one flickered up there. Okay? So let's look at that real quick. This is one of the more complicated widgets to look at. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, just so you can see it. The more you see this, the more you get comfortable with it a little bit. So that's the style sheet widget. I just dragged it over here. Scroll down through it. I'll do that. Right. So here's where it starts. We got the render function right here. So that's what's going to get called by the .NET New Client API. Right? And then it's going to start looking in this particular widget. It can do a number of different things, and it actually works as a base for other widgets to be able to use it to do other things. So this is actually like kind of a, if you're a programmer in .NET Nuke, this is kind of like your portal module-based for widgets. Right? This can, as far as style sheets are concerned, this allows you to do a bunch of different things. Now, something that's cool is when you first scroll into your render event for a particular widget, is right now there's no documentation for widgets at all. All right, there's nothing out there, just some blogs that myself and some other people have done. There's probably less than 10 blogs right now about widgets out there. But when it does, you're going to find out something that's kind of cool is they're going to really easily probably list all the different parameters that you can use for a widget. But in this particular instance, right now, while there's no documentation, what you're going to have to do is look at this render method here, and you're going to have to look through there, and you're going to see a switch statement of some kind right below there at some point. What that's going to tell you is what parameters can we feed this widget in the object tag. All right, if you remember the object tag, go back to it real quick. That's going to be these parameters right here. You see the parameters right here? So that switch statement, you're going to be able to put param name equals template, and then value equals whatever you tell it to. All right, so that's how that feeds up. We're going to see this in action in a little bit. So I just want to show you how this particular code looks. Let's go to something a little bit more useful. Relocation. This is one of my favorites. All right. I'm using Firefox right now. I usually use Internet Explorer at code camps for obvious reasons. I'm using Firefox because I don't know of any other plugin for IE that does what Firebug does. All right. There's one that gets close, and I think it's the IE. Yeah, IE developer gets close, but it's nowhere near what Firebug's going to do for us here today. All right, so if we look at the source of this particular page, we saw Ryan move some menu objects to the bottom for SEO purposes earlier. I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but I'm going to do it with some stuff that only developers really care about, and that's these hidden fields here. All right? Search engines really don't care what that is, and it shouldn't be at the top of the page for that reason. And in previous versions of .NET Nuke, they had done that for us server side. They moved all that stuff to the bottom. That's not the case anymore. I've found that they feel that they weren't able to find enough evidence to say that the SEO benefits were there to be able to say that keep the code in place, because it's a process-intensive thing on the server side to always move that these particular hidden fields down to the bottom of the page. Right? So they stopped doing that in the server side. So we're going to change that. We're going to move those. So I'm going to keep this open. Actually, now this is the only example where I'm going to do this inside of a skim. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the skim for this particular site. All right. So during the last session, you know why I'm going into these folders. Skins, we're in minimal extra fee right now. And the skim we're looking at is actually index. So here it is right here. So this is the first time we're actually see us using this in action. So we have these other widgets here. But what we're really concerned about is the reason I'm going to the skim is I'm going to put another little div in there. As soon as Visual Studio allows me to switch tabs.
There's something about sitting up there that causes it to stop.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put a little simple div in there, nothing extravagant, right? And then just save it. If we go and look at our page again, you're going to see nothing has happened yet, but we do have that particular div in there. Right? But now here's where it gets cool. Is I have some relocator widgets, all right? And I'm going to provide all the source code to you. Actually, everything you've seen today, if you've been in any of the other tracks, so we're going to be putting all this stuff on the ODEV site. And things that we couldn't put on our site, we're going to be linking to so you can get to it wherever they're being provided, okay? And if you need the website, we have the cards up here for the ODEV. Okay, so I'm going to put a series of 4 widgets on the page. Here's the first one. We're going to look at it real quick. And I put HTML comments in there so it describes what it does. So when you go and look at this on your own, you're not going to sit there and go, what did Will say about that? You're going to be able to see it right here. So this particular one, here's the SEO locator widget. I'm going to open up the source for that too, so that way we can compare it and we can go back and forth. So here's the relocation widget. So the first thing it does is it actually declares it right here. And then we, of course, have the render that I showed you before. All right? And just below it, we have a magical switch statement. And this tells us that we have two particular parameters that we can use. Sorry, can't come up with parameters. Source ID and target ID. Now, something that's that I like about this is something that I've seen in all widgets that I've dealt with so far is that there's a call right here when it goes to loop through the parameter name. It says to lowercase. So what that tells us is when we're working with our widgets on the client side, it remembers if I uppercase this whole thing, if I just keep it all lowercase, I camel case it or whatever. So that's cool because that's one piece of troubleshooting information you're not going to have to worry about anymore. All right? Why isn't it working? Well, that doesn't matter. So let's go look at the actual JavaScript. All right? So we got source ID and target ID. So basically, the source ID tells us, okay, what are we looking for? And then the value needs to be an ID of some kind. The target ID is where we're going to put that particular piece of code that we're looking for. All right? In this case, I'm going to look for something with the ID of. Oops, I didn't mean that. There we go. I'm going to look for something with the ID of event target, event argument, and last focus, and I'm going to be moving that to the bottom of the page. Okay? So I'm going to take the code that I just pre-done for you on viewState. ViewState's important. That viewState can get huge, obviously. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and put it in the scan that we have over here. Right, there it is. So I just paste it into the skin, and save it, and now we're going to go run our page again. All right. Now, something to also note when you're working with widgets is if I just read the source, it doesn't look like anything.